it's interesting in terms of the beginning of identification with the oppressor. Cork is furthest south. Cork was off the beaten path, you might say. And actually, in terms of the uprisings, and this would be acknowledged all over Ireland, Cork was the place where there was the most the seed of the rebellion that, you know, continued all of the time. They just simply didn't buy into it. They weren't liked very much. That's why the famine happened in Cork rather than somewhere else, because it wasn't sort of just this. It was man-made, as you might say, in that sense. But in terms of colonization, which I think a lot of you will appreciate, what you have to do is you know, make sure that you refer to these people that you're with as inferior. So a case in point is the British writing about the Spanish Armada when you know, 1558, 17, I can't remember exactly offhand on that one. At any rate, they defeated the Spanish, you know, and the Spanish had to sort of leave and flee. And the British historian refers to the fact that the British, you know, soundly defeated the Spaniards, and they washed up on the coast of Ireland and were eaten by the savages. So you can get, you know, that is the interpretation of the Queen's historian, Queen Elizabeth. The other thing I was having a kind of fun with Paolo this morning, is that you can actually go into cultural, you know, history of cultural anthropology, going back to the 19th century. I was telling him that I had a book that actually, you know, anthropological interpretations. They had a picture of a black man and an Irishman, and then they were trying to contrast it. Here, as you can very well see, the protruding forehead, you know, of somebody that would obviously be subnormal in intelligence. So Paolo and I had our arms around each other, thinking of taking a picture of us, and he said, what they didn't know is that we had more brains in our head. Well, we're going to give it a chance to say it. But to be very frank, those interpretations went on very much into the early part of the 20th century, for sure.
But yeah. You mean the current Queen Elizabeth's historians or the previous?
No, Elizabeth I.
No, this child. A young boy at the age of 11. I sent out, but it might not have got to everybody, my experience of coming to Ireland. It was a life-changing event for me, being an American. Actually, I knew at the age of 11 that people lived in other places very, very different from me, very different, and it was not better at all. In fact, there was a level of life in Ireland that I loved so much that after 3 months when I was going back on the boat, I think I told you that I cried. I honestly did. I cried for 5 days, because at that time I thought I'd never go back to see it, you know. And within that period of 3 months, I, you know, just completely came to love the surroundings and everything else, and it's still that feeling that I have right now. So it was one thing. We got off the boat in Queenstown, or now called Cove, and at that time, most of this is in the 1950s. The 1950s, this would be basically a pre-industrial economy. 90% was agriculture. Most of the food we ate was, in fact, eggs and cabbage. Oh, what a beautiful house. I said, who lives up there? And he said, we do. My uncle said, because my family are still living in those houses, and I know some of the people there. Huh?
Are we going to stop?
Huh?
Are we going to pass the house on the list?
Yes, oh, we should, definitely. What I also learned how much it was important to work cooperatively on the land, because you'd have a threshing machine that everybody would move from one farm to the other, so that it was a constant, you know, you could not survive without a completely cooperative economy.